session we shall be talking regarding electron transport chain. See, our body produces energy in various forms such as NADH, FADH and ATP. But our cells are programmed in such a way that they can only use the energy in the form of ATP. So we need to convert these other forms of energy to ATP. This conversion takes place via electron transport chain. So the basic agenda to do this chain is to convert the NADH and FADH into ATP. How it is done is this is basically via a series of complex enzymes placed on inner mitochondrial membrane. So they ask that electron transport chain runs on which membrane? It runs on the inner mitochondrial membrane. The mitochondria has two membranes. For example, let's say this is the outer membrane and the blue color one I'm making, it's the inner mitochondrial membrane. This is the outer mitochondrial membrane and this is the inner mitochondrial membrane. Outside to this is cytoplasm and inside is the mitochondrial matrix. So I hope you have the orientation now. Outside to the outer mitochondrial membrane is the cytoplasm and inside to the inner mitochondrial membrane is inside the mitochondrial matrix. In between the two membranes, the space is called as intermembrane space. As I was saying that electron transport chain is basically a series of complex enzymes which is placed on the inner mitochondrial membrane. So let's see how it is placed. There are 5 complex enzymes which are placed in a specific sequence. So for example, let's say this is the first complex enzyme. So complex 1, complex 2, complex 3, complex 4 and complex 5. Now complex 5 structure I have deliberately made somewhat different. Now what I want to make you highlight that the complex 5 is having a tunnel like structure in the center of it. Basically it is a passage which is connecting the intermembrane space with the mitochondrial matrix. It is connecting with the mitochondrial matrix with this passage which is there in the complex 5. So now we will see that how the energy of NADH and FADH will be converted into ATP via this series of enzymes which are placed on the inner mitochondrial membrane. So first of all, what happens is NADH molecule attaches on complex 1 and converts into NAD. Now the hydrogen ion which is taken out from the NADH molecules, these hydrogen ions will be pumped in the intermembrane space. These hydrogen ions will come here because many NADH molecule will be attaching here. So some of the hydrogen ions will be pumped in the intermembrane space and some hydrogen ions will be transferred towards the complex 2. On the complex 2, FADH molecule will attach and will convert into FAD. Again the hydrogen ion is taken and these hydrogen ion will come in the complex 2. The hydrogen ions which are coming from complex 1 and the hydrogen ions which are coming from complex 2, both will be diverted towards complex 3. So no hydrogen is pumped via complex 2. to the intermembrane space. All the hydrogens are diverted towards complex 3. Via complex 3, some of the hydrogen molecules will be pumped to the intermembrane space, and the remaining hydrogens will be diverted towards complex 4. Now this complex 4 will pump all the remaining hydrogen molecules. So what we can find is, after some time of continuous pumping, of the hydrogen ions, there will be lot of hydrogen ions accumulated in the intermembrane space. If we see the particular data that how many hydrogen ions are pumped from each of the complex, then we can remember like this, that the common male shirt size, the shirt size which we wear, the commonly it is either 40 or 42. So this is how we are going to remember that the complex 1 pumps 4 hydrogen at a time. Complex 2 does not pump any hydrogen ion. Complex 3 will pump 4 hydrogen ions, and complex 4 will pump 2 hydrogen ions. So I am writing this data in this diagram. Complex 1 is pumping 4 hydrogen at a time. Complex 2 is not pumping, 0. Complex 3 is pumping 4 hydrogen, and the last complex, the complex 4, is pumping 2 hydrogens at a time. Because of this accumulation of the hydrogen ions, now what we can see is there is a formation of gradient between the intermembrane space, this is the intermembrane space, and this side is the mitochondrial matrix. So you can see that there is a gross concentration difference between the hydrogen ions. In the intermembrane space there is a very high concentration, where in the mitochondrial matrix it is very less. So this complex 5, as it has a passage which connects the intermembrane space to the mitochondrial matrix. So what these hydrogen ions will do is they will try to come back to the mitochondrial matrix via this tunnel. Now because there is a very high concentration gradient, so they will come with a very great speed. Very great speed. Now as they come with a very great speed, because of this speed, this complex 5 will move. This complex 5, why it moves? Because it has a fan like structure. So it starts the rotation process. As the hydrogen ions will come in the matrix, as the more the hydrogen ion will come, the fan will move more and more faster. Now as the fan will move, it will generate the energy, and the energy will be generated in the form of ATP. It is the same concept which is there on the you may have seen how the electricity is produced, that the water falls on the turbine moves, and the electricity is generated. In the same way, these hydrogen ions are coming via this tunnel, this fan of complex 5 is moving, and the energy is generated in the form of ATP. So this is the basic concept. Of electron transport chain, that how we are converting this NADH and FADH molecules into ATP. Yes. So what are the points that you should know regarding this electron transport chain? The first thing that you should know is that this electron transport chain runs where? It runs on the inner mitochondrial membrane. The second thing they ask is how many hydrogen ions are pumped by each complex, and we can answer by this simple mnemonic: 40-42. Then the complex 5, which have the tunnel like structure, will send back these hydrogen ions via the passage. The fan will move and will generate the energy in the form of ATP. The next thing that you should know regarding these complexes, that what are the name of each complex, because these complex are made up of some enzymes. So we should know that what is the name of the enzyme which is there in the complex 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we will make a table. In the first column, we will write down the name of the enzyme. So complex 1, complex 2, 3, 4 and 5. After the name of the enzyme, we will write down how many hydrogen ions are pumped. How many hydrogen ions are pumped by that particular complex. Then the third, in the third column, we will write down some special point. If there will be any special point regarding that complex. So let's start with the complex 1. Complex 1, complex 1 is made up of NADH dehydrogenase. The name of the complex 1 is NADH dehydrogenase. It pumps 4 hydrogen ions to the intermembrane space. The special point is it contains FMN and FES. FMN and FES. The full form of FMN I am writing here. FMN stands for flavin mononucleotide. FES is iron sulfide. FES is iron sulfide. Let's go to the complex 2. Name of the complex 2 is succinate Q reductase. The name of the complex 2 enzyme is succinate Q reductase. It pumps 0 hydrogen. It contains FAD and FES. FAD stands for flavin adenine dinucleotide. Now coming to the complex 3. Complex 3, it is called as cytochrome oxidoreductase. It pumps 4 hydrogen at a time. It contains cytochrome B and C1. Cytochrome is an iron containing protein. Next is complex 4 and 5. Complex 4, it is cytochrome oxidase. It pumps 2 hydrogen at a time. It contains cytochrome A1 and A3. One more point we can add in the complex 3 is complex 3 also contain iron sulfide. Now coming to complex 5, because complex 5, which is having a funnel shape structure and generating the ATP, so the name of complex 5 is ATP synthase complex. It does not pump any hydrogen to the intermembrane space. It has a tunnel, so all the hydrogen ion molecules will come back via this tunnel. This complex 5 is made up of two subunits, that is called as F0 and F1. What is the meaning of F0 is? F0 is the intermembrane. It is the intermembrane part. And F1 is mitochondrial matrix part. Just write it down. I will explain in the diagram what is the meaning of that intermembrane part or the mitochondrial matrix part. F0 is intermembrane part and F1 is mitochondrial matrix part. Let me explain you this in the diagram, what is F0 and what is F1. See in this diagram, the focus on the complex 5. there is some part of the complex 5 which is there inside the membrane. This part which is inside the membrane, this is called as F0, and the part which is hanging in the mitochondrial matrix, this is the mitochondrial matrix. So the part which is hanging in the mitochondrial matrix, it's called as F1. It is called as F1. Now once we are clear with these facts, that the name of the enzymes and how many hydrogens are pumped, now we will see that because we know that the complexes are made up of some enzymes, and the enzymes can be inhibited by various toxins. So we should know that which toxin inhibits complex 1, which toxin inhibits complex 2, and so on. So we'll write down this information under the heading of electron transport chain inhibitors. Complex 1. We will discuss that which complex is inhibited by which toxin. Complex 1 is inhibited by a toxin with the name of rotenone. Complex 2 is inhibited by melodate. Complex 3 is inhibited by BAL, antimycin. Complex 4 is inhibited by carbon monoxide, cyanide, hydrogen sulfide. Complex 5 is inhibited by oligomycin. Apart from this, there are few more inhibitors which are there. I will write down it afterwards. First, I want to tell you one mnemonic, how you can remember this 1, 2, 3, 4 complex inhibitors. If you know Hindi, fine. If not, you can remember it directly. It is not that difficult to remember. Still, the mnemonic is रो मत बालक मच्छर काटा है. रो मत बालक मच्छर काटा है. Yes. Apart from this, there are few more inhibitors that we should know. Complex 1 is also inhibited by phenobarbital. And complex 2 is also inhibited by carboxyl. Among these all, this carboxyl is the most important one. Carboxyl inhibits complex 2. So these are the various toxins that can inhibit the electron transport chain. And you should be knowing which complex is inhibited by which toxin. Once we are clear with this fact, now we will come towards the end part. This concept is called as uncoupling. To make you understand the uncoupling, I am again drawing the same diagram which I have drawn previously, the two membranes of the mitochondria. It's the outer membrane, inner mitochondrial membrane. Outside is the cytoplasm. This side is the mitochondrial matrix. I hope the orientation is clear. We know that there are total 5 complexes. In the electron transport chain. And there is a passage in the complex 5. So what we have learned is that NADH and FADH will attach to their respective complexes and will donate the hydrogen ions. These hydrogen ions will be pumped in the intermembrane space via the various complexes. Once these hydrogen ions will accumulate in the intermembrane space, they will try to come back via the complex 5. The fan will run and the ATP will be generated. This is what we have learned. Now, if we look closely, why the ATP is generated is because of a simple fact that the complex 5 have a fan-like structure, and because of the great speed of the hydrogen ions, this fan will move and will generate the energy. Now if I say that these hydrogen ion which you have accumulated here, if they do not come via the complex 5, instead they leak out to mitochondrial matrix via other than complex 5. If hydrogen ion leaks to mitochondrial matrix other than complex 5, then the fan will not move. If the fan will not move, I can see the ATP will not be generated, because the ATP is generated because the hydrogen ions were coming via the tunnel and the fan was moving. But now what I am saying is, if these hydrogen ion does not come via the complex 5 tunnel, they come directly by some other places, by some other leakage, they come to the mitochondrial matrix, then the fan will not move, and if the fan will not move, the energy will not be generated. In this case, the energy is generated when the hydrogen ion comes to the mitochondrial matrix via other than complex 5. Then the energy is generated in the form of heat, and this process of generating heat is called as uncoupling. So let's write down the theory part. What is uncoupling is? If hydrogen ions comes to mitochondrial matrix via other than complex 5, then the energy is generated in the form of heat. And this process is called as uncoupling. Hydrogen ion comes to mitochondrial matrix via other than complex 5, then the energy is generated in the form of heat, and this process is called as uncoupling. Now once we are clear with this fact of uncoupling, there are certain molecules which promotes the uncoupling and which is physiologically present in our body. They are called as physiological uncouplers. There are certain molecules which are present physiologically in our body and they are promoting the uncoupling. They are called as physiological uncouplers. The example of that is thyroxine, that is the thyroid hormone. One more example I can say, which is there in the neonates, that is thermogenin. Thermogenin is found in brown fat, which also leads to uncoupling and produces heat. Yes, we can understand or we can imply this fact on this, that whenever the electron transport chain will run and you do the uncoupling, the product will be generated in the form of heat. This uncoupling process is occurring every day in our body to maintain the core body temperature. For example, let's say there is a person who is currently in, for example, Delhi. The temperature of Delhi is 40 degrees Celsius and travels to a cold climate country. For example, let's say travels or takes a flight to Moscow. The temperature of Moscow is minus 20 degrees Celsius. So you can see that the environment temperature is changing 60 degrees Celsius within a span of 6-7 hours. The core body temperature of that particular fellow when he was in Delhi was around 7 degrees Celsius. And when he reaches to Moscow, landed in Moscow, and the temperature will remain the same, almost. The reason for that is, when he is in a climate condition, he is in a cold climate condition, then the body has to generate more heat. So I can say there will be more uncoupling. Here there will be more uncoupling compared to here, because here the core body temperature was maintained because of the external heat was there, but here external heat is not present, so there is more uncoupling needs to be done. So this is how the body is regulating the uncoupling process to maintain the core body temperature. If we take a clinical implication as well, you may have heard of a condition called as thyrotoxicosis. What happens in thyrotoxicosis is there is increased amount of thyroid hormone in our body. Because there is increased amount of thyroid hormone, I can say there is increased amount of uncoupling. And because of uncoupling, I can say there will be increased amount of heat. That is why hyperthyroid or thyrotoxicosis patient, they are doing more uncoupling, means more heat, so they are always warm to touch. Whenever you touch a patient of hyperthyroidism or thyrotoxicosis, they will be always warm to touch. The reason is because the thyroid hormone leads to uncoupling and they have the more thyroid hormone. The vice versa is also true. The hypothyroid patient will be cold to touch, because they will be cold to touch because there is less uncoupling. So these are the various physiological uncouplers we have. In the same way, there are some pathological uncouplers. Normally they are not found in body, but if they are ingested, they can lead to uncoupling. So we should know what are the examples of pathological uncouplers we have. The first example that we should know is 2,4-dinitrophenol. Then the second example is high dose of aspirin. Then the third example is dinitrocresol. So these are the various examples that we should know. The most important is the first one, which was asked in your exam. Which of the following is an example of pathological uncoupler of the electron transport chain? And in given option, the answer was 2,4-dinitrophenol. The last concept that I want to highlight here in electron transport chain, it is with the name of respiratory quotient. Respiratory quotient. What is respiratory quotient is? The formula of respiratory quotient is volume of carbon dioxide produced divided by volume of oxygen consumed in oxidation of metabolic fuel. Oxidation of metabolic fuel. So what is the meaning of that? The meaning of that is, I will take an example so that it will make more sense. For example, let's say carbohydrate. What I am saying is, if you take a carbohydrate, for example, let's say 1 gram of carbohydrate, and you want to do oxidation, means you want to burn this metabolic fuel. You want to generate the energy. So to burn this metabolic fuel, what you require is oxygen. And when you will burn this or carbohydrate with the help of oxygen, the product will be carbon dioxide. So what we are measuring is basically how much oxygen you are taking and how much carbon dioxide you are generating while generating the energy. Yes. So this is a ratio. That volume of CO2 produced divided by the volume of CO2 consumed by the metabolic fuel. Yes. So What you should know is what are the respiratory coefficients of various different metabolic fuel. For example, what is the respiratory coefficient of carbohydrate, what is the respiratory coefficient of protein, fat. Yes, the respiratory coefficient of carbohydrate is 1. Protein it is 0.8. Fat it is 0.7. So these are the various respiratory coefficients that you should know. Yes. So I am summarizing the electron transport chain. In the nutshell, what I can say is basically NADH and FADH will be converted into ATP. This is what electron transport chain does. It runs on the inner mitochondrial membrane. It's made up of 5 complex enzymes placed in a series. 5 complex enzymes. Each out of 4 complex enzymes will pump the hydrogen, and how we can remember how many hydrogen ions will be pumped with the simple mnemonic of 40-42. Once the intermembrane space will be loaded with hydrogen, these hydrogen ion will come to the mitochondrial matrix via the tunnel of complex 5 and will generate the ATP. This is what we have remembered. There are certain inhibitors also, complex inhibitors, and the most important inhibitor was the inhibitor of complex 2, that was carboxyl. The remaining we have written in the table as well. Then I have told you regarding the concept of uncoupling. And the example of pathological uncouplers is 2,4-dinitrophenol. The physiological uncoupler is thyroxine. And the product of uncoupling will not be ATP, the product of uncoupling will be heat. And then I told you regarding the respiratory coefficient, and the important respiratory coefficient that you should know is carbohydrate. The respiratory coefficient is 1. The consumption of carbon dioxide, the consumption of oxygen divided by the production of carbon dioxide is called as respiratory coefficient, and for carbohydrate it is 1. So this is electron transport chain. Thank you.